RBS Busy Research Academy welcomes to you lecture number 28. In this lecture, I'm going to discuss about the mediation analysis issues and recommendations. Dear viewers, while searching some of the literature on the statistical modeling, I found this wonderful paper. Then I thought why I should not share this because it discusses about some of the important issues and provides some of the relevant recommendations how to solve all these issues. So I think this is a wonderful research paper. So this has been written by the Mumtaz Ali Memon and the T. Ramaya and the three other co-authors. This paper was published in the Journal of Applied Structural Equation Modeling in the January 2018. So it's some of the latest paper on this one. So, okay, so let's start our discussion. But before this one, my name is Dr. Rahimbak Sumro and I belong to Shabti University, Pakistan. And this is my research and this is my certificate which was awarded to me from the PLS Academy, Germany, after completing the online course from the same academy. Okay, so now here we are going down. So here is the introduction. This first paragraph of the introduction, which shows about the importance of mediation. Nowadays, mediation designs are the heart of the social science in the business. That's true. Now, across the world, most of the people, researchers who are belonging to these two areas, they are involved in the mediation in their research papers. Okay, so now this mediation often referred as the writing to theory development. That's very important. If you want to develop a one theory, then the mediation or mediating models are nowadays they're getting much more importance. That's an important scientific status of the field. Now it is very important, the status in the scientific status, because some of the scientific procedures are there. Okay, and it is also important for the scientific status in the field and also indispensable tool. It's a very important tool. We cannot deny from the use of this tool, especially when we want to understand the mechanism between the independent variable with the help of the mediator. So from this point of view, how much that's important, you know, from this paragraph. And then if you come down, then this is another graph which shows about how the popularity of this technique, analyzing technique, it means the mediation. So evidently, scholars today are placing increased emphasis on the journal and studying mediation models. So in this regard, the Wood et al. Reviewed in the 2018 reviewed the 5 top management journals. You are looking here their names. And he collected the 25 years data from the 1981 to 2015. So in this one, totally he found that 409 studies which tested the mediation models. So now, even from the 90s up to the 2005, it was very much popular. But equally, if you go through in another, similarly, another research, Miller and Boyer and the Rung Thasmin in the 2014 reviewed the supply chain management articles and were published the 2008 to 11. That means around the 3 years, and found the supply chain management literature was increasingly interested in the mediation effects. So now, from this point of view, it is clear how much the mediation is going to be popular among the researchers who are belonging to social science or the business administration, commerce, public administration in these type of the areas. Okay, now some of the issues which have been highlighted in this research paper, I'm going to discuss these one. Researchers continue to use outdated methods. So still the researchers are using somewhat the out research method. That means that this reason has been found out by the Guinness in the 2016. It's not old one. This was somewhat let me say just 6 years big. Okay, and then past studies, what they are then pointed out that much of the larger number of studies have followed the causal steps approach suggested by the Brown and Kenny. So now Brown and Kenny have done a wonderful job in the 80s. So now most of the still they are following the steps which was developed by the Barron and Kenny. Okay, so now another essential issue highlighted by the Miller, Transit, and others that the vast majority of the studies, 77%, that explains the mediation that is not test mediated fate is set. So they actually run the mediation, but there was no mediation effect itself in those mediation models. So that is another issue. And then another important issue that especially about the reporting. So whenever the reporting on mediation analysis was often insufficient and incomplete. And then another important issue noted by the same Rangthasaman, they found that the high percentage of the mediation article 75%, which did not even hypothesize mediating effect despite invoking the mediation process in the prose or in diagrammatic form, even though in the graphical model they provide some the path, mediation path, but actually there was no hypothesis behind that path. So the mediation was there, but to test the mediation, there was no any hypothesis behind this one. So these are some of the issues which have been identified by the researchers by the authors of this research paper. So further, they write here that the purpose of this editorial is to advance understanding of the mediation analysis, is to help local researchers or the like the researchers which are working across the which I think they will say across the globe, because it's a global issue. What are the issues which have been identified in the last paragraph? These are the global issues. In doing so, we review the state of the art literature, clarify misunderstanding. So in order to clarify all the misunderstanding, in order to identify all the issues in this one, the authors of this paper, they use here the state of the art literature. Okay, and then we are going down. So here you're looking at the mediation model. Although you all people know about the mediation, that means in the mediation, a mediator is what is mediator doing. A mediator is a third variable that explains how and why the other two variables x and y. X means independent variable and y means dependent variable. And how, in what manner that there is a relationship between the x and y which is being told to you through the mediator. So that's why a very important thing is that for a mediation, for a simple mediation, at least there should be the three variables. Okay, in simple mediation, it means when there is a one mediator. So in this one, at least there should be the three variable, one independent and one is a mediator and another is a dependent variable. Now the issues. What are the typical issues which they have been highlighted in this research paper? The first one is about the preparation for the mediation analysis. So whenever we want to apply the mediation analysis, what is the preparation which we should complete before analyzing or applying the mediation model in our research paper? So the first recommendation here is that simply stating the M will mediate the relationship between the X and Y neither justifies the role of mediator nor contribute to the advancement of the theory of building. So by just placing a one mediator between the independent and dependent variable, it's not sufficient, but you have to provide some reasons, some logic, or some some citations from the previous literature. They means why you are putting over there. Okay, so in this regard, the first one is why a mediator is needed. Actually, there a need of putting the mediator over there or not? First, you have to identify this type of the problem. Either the mediator is required or not. So you have to justify this thing. So, and second thing is that which variable should be considered as a mediator and why? There are different variables are there in your model. So any one variable to which you are considering as a mediator. So why you are considering it and which one should be. So now you have to provide the answers of these two questions. And after that one, the conceptualization of the mediation relationship needs forethought about the relationship between the variable of interest and the theoretical meaning behind those relationships. So now the way in which you are conceptualizing the mediation relationship between the independent and dependent variable, it needs some the forethought about the relationship. So now it means that whenever you are inserting any mediator between the relationship IV and the DV, you are required to justify why you are putting the any variable as a mediator over there. That's very important. Okay, so among other issues which are there, another issue is about the reliability of your instrument. and the validity of your instrument. So these two are very important. Whenever you are inserting the mediator in the model, then you must, but even though if there is no mediator in your research, even though the reliability and validity of your instrument must be checked out. If your instrument is reliable and valid, then you should start to collect the data from the respondent with the help of that instrument. And sample size is very important. So sufficient sample size should be there to apply the mediation model. And then the selection of appropriate software application, again, another requirement is there because we have the majorly two type of the software. One is a PLS-SEM, covariance-based structural equation modeling. Some software they are belonging to this one like the MOs, and another is a variance-based structural equation modeling. So, for example, Smart PLS is belonging to this group of the software. So, which software which you are applying, you are required to provide some of the reasons over there, and then which of the approach you are applying for the mediation, and by including their strength and weakness. So these are some of the important things are there to prepare when you are going to apply the mediation model in your research. Okay, and then moreover, the classical work done by the, now these are the names of some of the big names are there in the field of the mediation. So if you want to know more about the mediation, so these are the authors which will, if you go through their literature, now you can be able to understand more clearly about the mediation. Okay, and then another issue that's about the number of hypotheses. So sometimes it's very important because we are not clear how many hypotheses should be there. So now here the two approaches are there. So now this is a very most frequent answer questions. Most of the time people are asking how many hypotheses should be in my model. So in this regard, that there is a guideline is that there are two approaches. One, the segmentation approach. In this one, which suggests us that there should be the three hypotheses. If you are following the segmentation approach, then there should be the three hypotheses, and there which H1, it means independent variable affects the mediator, and the H2. So one H2, that means hypothesis number 2, mediator affects the outcome variable, and the third one is the mediating effect. That means the aim mediates the relationship between the X and Y. So here, according to the segmentation approach, there are the three hypotheses. And another approach that is about the transmittal approach. According to this approach, there is only one hypothesis. Now, transmitter, which requires a single hypothesis stating the mediator mediates the relationship between the X and Y without devolving into the hypothesis relating to the X to M R and M to Y. Okay. In the transmittal approach, just you are required to use only one hypothesis instead of using the three hypotheses. Now, in this table provides you some of the example. Now, this is about this segmentation approach where you're looking, these three hypotheses are there. And now these are the three hypotheses there. And another is a transmittal approach. So where there's only one hypothesis is there. So example of number one hypothesis, for example, it writes here, for example, these two hypotheses are there, examples are there. M mediates the relationship between the X and Y, and X has indirect effect on the Y through M. So these two hypotheses are there. Now it is up to you which type of the approach which you are following, either transmittal approach or the segmentation approach. Now, another is about the using the Barron and Kenny's approach, because in the during the 80s it was much more popular. It is written here that more than 70,000 citations are available for this approach up to now. So from this point of view, you know how much this one is popular. So now Barron-Kenny approach, what is it basically? So it is up here. So Barron-Kenny approach basically is a casual step for the mediation. Step number one, X must have related to the Y. It means there should be the significant relationship between the X and Y. Other terms, we can say there should be the significant relationship between the independent and dependent variable. And two hypothesis is that X must have related to the M3. then again there should be the significant relationship between the independent variable and the mediator. And then X3 is about that there should be significant relationship between the X and Y through a mediator. And the last one is that the whenever you are inserting the mediator, the relationship between the X and Y should be shrunk, should come down. So these are the four conditions are there whenever you are going to apply the Barron-Kenny approach. So now what are the disadvantages of this approach? It is written here. Now here, recent development in the mediation literature unequivocally discourage researchers from using the Barron-Kenny's approach because of the severe limitations. So what are those limitations? So now these are the limitations. Number one limitation is statistical power, low statistical power. And the second is that not directly testing the significance of the specific indirect effect, but it always measure the combined effect, not the specific indirect effect, and neither quantifying the magnitude of the mediation effect, nor accommodating the models with the inconsistent mediation. So these are some of the serious limitations are there. That's why it is suggested not to use the Barron-Kenny approach. Furthermore, here using Barron-Kenny's approach might produce the misleading results. So now it's quite a new thing even for me. So that's why I thought I should share with you. Refute potentially significant theoretical relationship and the in turn damage the theory building. So now, because of these severe conditions, severe limitations are there, the theory building is not possible. And most of the theories have not been developed, even though they were being expected to be developed. But because these four approaches were not made by the researchers, so that's why it was not possible for them. Furthermore, it's written here that there are also clear recommendations. There are also clear recommendations to abandon this approach to test the mediation effect. So again, it's clear that explicitly advised that the following Barron-Kenny, which was fine in the 1980, however, researchers need to be conscious with it today. So now it is clearly recommended here that one should abandon to use the use of this approach for the mediation effect because other approaches have been developed. So now it was good in the 1980s, but now it's not good right now. So it is suggested to not to use it right now. Okay, and then if we go down issue number 4. Issue number 4 is talking about the relationship between the antecedent and outcome, the independent variable and the dependent variable. So here the first thing is about this one. Okay, testing relationship between the X and Y for the mediation analysis is the first condition of the Barron-Kenny causal approach. As I told you in the last issue number 3, there were the 4 steps. So that's the first step. There should be the significant relationship between the X and Y. Okay, so now furthermore, if it is not available, then now because of such condition and the steps, this single condition and the 3 other steps, several mediating relationships were rejected and prematurely ended. Now that's the reason of this, the result of these 4 steps, because most of the time these 4 steps were not made by the researchers. That's why. So the theories were not developed or the relationship were rejected. Okay. And in the practice of testing, the direct effect violates the basic principle of the parsimony and prompt the researcher to examine models that are not aligned with the theory. So now if the basic means the testing direct effect. Now direct effect means here that the effect of the independent variable to the dependent variable directly without the mediator. Now if this is not significant, then this violates the principle of the parsimony. Now parsimony principle is here. I have provided one definition of this one. The parsimonious models with as few parameters is possible for a given quality of the model estimation results. Now this is a breach of the the principles of the parsimony. And another problem is that thus the mediation analysis does not require an association between the X and Y. Now, it's a new thought, right? It means nowadays, that means that it's necessary, that means there should be the significant relationship between the X and Y. If there is no relationship, no problem. Now, for example, to illustrate, for example, here it is written that the relationship between the X and Y needs not to be considered when determining the whether A mediates the effect of the X on Y because the path is not part of the mediated effect. A wonderful thing is there. It means that the relationship between the X and Y needs not to be considered. It's not necessary to consider because the direct path is not the means a direct effect is not the part of the mediation. If there is no indirect effect, there is no any harm, there is no any negative impact of this one on the mediation, even though you can perform the mediation in this one. And then here another thing is that testing the significance of X and Y before or after examining a mediation effect is outdated and unnecessarily restrictive. So now it is unnecessarily restricted and now it has become out of the use. It's outdated. Now it should be abolished right now. So if the theory suggests the presence of the mediation, if the theory suggests you that there is a mediation in your model between the X and Y, this does not mean that there is, okay. So now, regardless, now here, you are not required to again consider the relationship between the X and Y. But if you suggest that, okay, there is the mediator, then you should not be worried about it if there is a insignificant relationship between the X and Y. But again, so it does not mean that the researchers should stop testing the direct. So again, it's good to test the direct relationship between the X and Y. But if it's not, if it is insignificant, then again, no worry. And then we are going down. So further, one more thing which I hear that's about the here taking into the account of the discussion above. It is suggested that testing X and Y, X leads to Y, with the purpose to confirm the simple mediation effect is rather unnecessary and a hindrance to the theory building. So one should not check the direct relationship because it is a hindrance and it's unnecessary. If you are finding insignificant relationship, no problem. If you're finding significant relationship, then that's good thing. Okay. And then we are coming down, and here we are discussing about the issue number 5, and that one is a complete or the full mediation. Again, it's a very important, I think, issue. So here it is written that the contemporary literature on the mediation advocates that the complete, also called as a full and the partial mediation concept, have little value and should be avoided. That means now we should not talk about the complete or the full mediation or the partial. Now these okay, whenever the full mediation implies that the researcher has completely explained the process by which X influences the Y, and no additional research is needed to further research the mediator. Okay, so when you are complaining that there is a full mediation, it means no research is required. That means that in the future you cannot provide any research gap. This rarely is also that to claim the full mediation, one should have to have confidently made all the possible mediators and suppressors without error. It means that all the mediators suppressors have been used by the researcher. So that's why now the researcher is able to claim that the full mediation is there. So now suppressor is what? Now here is the definition of the suppressor. Okay. And then here one cannot even claim to have established the complete mediation. So according to Rucker, so now one cannot claim that the complete mediation has been established over there. So now we should not use the word of the complete or full mediation, as we say the mediation is there. Okay, more the scholars have recently advocated that the claiming a complete mediation would likely discourage researchers from explaining the other theoretically driven mediators, which in can unnecessarily constrain the theory development. So now again, it's another constraint, another issue in the theory development. So now whenever you use the complete mediation is there, it means now there is no need to research the same relation again, because already the complete mediation is there. Now this is one type of the hurdle in the theory development. Suffice to say that the researchers should avoid using the term complete and partial mediation when they're developing a mediation. So now our hypotheses are interpreting the mediation effect. So now we should avoid by using the word mediation, complete mediation or partial mediation, but just we use the mediation is there. Last but not the least, that's about the analyzing the mediation effect. Either the mediation effect is a significant or not. How to check? So this issue is about this one. The central consideration of the mediation analysis is that there's a significant relationship between the independent and outcome variable through the moderator or not. So that is the thing which you want to check out. So now for this purpose, we have the one technique that we call is a bias corrected bootstrapping method. So now what is bootstrapping method? So here I have provided the definition of this bootstrapping method. Now, how to check either our mediation relationship is significant or not. So if we are getting the value of the bootstrapping less than 0.05, p value, probability value 210, and t value higher than 1.96. So if this is the case, then our mediation relationship between the two variables is significant. Otherwise, is not. Okay. So eventually, the confidence interval is another one. So now one is a bootstrapping method, and another is a confidence interval method is there through which we can check either our relationship is significant or not significant. So okay. So in this regard, now for example, if the confidence interval for indirect effect does not straddle to the zero in between, this support the presence of the mediation effect, and if not, then there is no mediation effect. So statistical programs such as the process, Smart PLS, REP PLS, Adanco, Amos, these are some of the softwares which can help authors for the bootstrapping confidence interval. When analyzing the model with the multiple mediators, researchers must estimate the specific indirect effect instead of the total indirect effect. Okay, so now it's another good thing that means that especially multiple mediators. Multiple mediator means when you have the more than one mediator, 2, 3, and so on. So in this case, we should check the specific indirect effect instead of a total indirect effect. So now the good thing, which is with the Smart PLS and the REP PLS, that they are providing such type of the effects, is like the specific indirect effect and the. Okay, so here you are also looking at one image from the Smart PLS where it is showing you about the specific indirect effect link, where if you click it, you will get the specific indirect effect. Okay, and one more thing that the REP PLS, Smart PLS, REP PLS can estimate specific indirect effect, thus making the assessment of the model with a simple. One more thing that the Smart PLS and the REP PLS can estimate specific indirect effect, thus making the assessment of the model with the multiple mediator easier. So in this way, through estimating the specific indirect effect, now the multiple mediation is easier with the help of the Smart PLS and the REP PLS. Okay, another method is also the Monte Carlo simulation method, and the Bayesian estimation is also another through which you can also test that either the relationship between mediation relationship is significant or not. So here is a conclusion. So one more thing in this one, if you want to know furthermore, then that they have the one group MySEM on the Facebook group. So here you are required to become a member of this group, and then you can also have some of the discussion with the people who are working, who are the member of this group, and they are sharing some of the information regarding the mediation. So now at the end of this video, thank you very much for watching this video. And I hope again that this video has become useful because it totally completely a different thing we have discussed about the issues in recommendation.